Greetings, folks. Okay, so we're still in Siquijor in southern Philippines. Now, today's topic is the frequency of persistence. When you look at the keys to success, what generates success in any skill development is your ability to continually put in effort and never give up. And of course, intelligent effort and using skillful means to develop yourself dictates how long you have to put effort in. But the persistence frequency is a frequency of perpetual struggle where you expose yourself to stress, you release and adapt to that stress as you develop the skill, and you take ownership of the skill to move forward. And this perpetual struggle needs to be an addiction, where you become addicted to skill development for the first decade of practice. And that's an essential. You really need that addiction to get good. Now, the reason why I say the first decade, you can do it in a much shorter time, depending on what your goals are. But within magical work, there's so much to be done that you really want to be putting that effort in at a very, very early stage to get good foundation skills, and then those foundation skills will lead into a platform for your path of service and for your ascension process. Now, let's look at how can you efficiently apply persistence, perpetual struggle. So let's say you want to develop clairvoyance, and this is a skill that a lot of people want. They want to be able to see energy fields, vortexes, health problems, traumas, and to be able to release them. They want to be able to see energy so they can influence it. They want to be able to see past, present, future energy streams so they can make better decisions. The uses of clairvoyance is limitless. You want to see how the Dharma works in action clairvoyantly. You want to be able to see the Bodhisattvas and the deities and the Buddhas, and you want to commune with them to understand Buddhism. Without clairvoyance, it's actually very difficult to develop yourself spiritually. So this perpetual struggle frequency, clairvoyance, you have 10 key things that you've got to get good at for clairvoyant work. The first is to separate eye consciousness from objects. So you want to get your eye consciousness to step back from objects so that you're not touching the object through the eye consciousness. The second is the one point of concentration through eye consciousness. The third is to recognize the stillness underneath the eye consciousness. The fourth is a development of energetic awareness of vital energy through the eye consciousness. And the next one's the astral awareness through the eye consciousness. And then the next one is mental structures, visualization skills through the eye consciousness. And then akasha work through the eye consciousness. And then understanding the nature of equanimity through the eye consciousness. And then separating the layers through the eye consciousness. And then looking at branching off into individual skills. Like, do you have to release time and space through Akasha to see a prophetic vision? Do you want to stay in the present moment and see the structure of life force within a person? Do you want to stay in the present moment seeing the astral aura of a person? Or do you want to look down the timeline of the astral aura and see the future and past fluctuations of that person's fate through their astral aura? And so forth. So each of these skills, as you define the skill, and then you start training it, there's a type of intellectual, how do I do this? There's an emotional, there's a struggle. There's a physical action of doing. And then you have to release each skill as you do it to take ownership of it and recognize ownership. So let's say you get a little bit of amplification of your visualization skill. You need to write down, today I perfectly visualized this particular image. And you write it down in your journal. And this is your recognition journal. This is your acknowledgement between your conscious and unconscious mind that you can do that. When you write it down, something very interesting happens in your unconscious. Your unconscious mind's, you want more of that data. You're receiving billions of bits of data every second, passing through all the sense gates. You want more of that. Your system literally gives you more of that. you see more of that information through the field. Now, as you develop your visualization skill, you're compounding what you own, not what you can do. It's different. What you have an experience. Let's say someone takes ayahuasca and they have one-off experience. They can't replicate that again. They don't own it. They'll talk about it. Oh, I met God, blah, 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 but they never meet God again because ayahuasca gave them a delusionary experience. It's not real. It's illusory. It's not a skill they developed. They got put on a merry-go-round ride, and they can't go back to that merry-go-round unless they take the drug again. That's something different. What we're talking about is the development of a skill, and then you have an experience, and you take ownership. With my mind, I can attune myself to this skill and awaken it and replicate it anytime I want. You're in resonance with the skill. So to get in resonance with a skill, you've got to break down what are the physical conditions. It might be the eye consciousness needs to be in a peripheral state, needs to breathe vital energy through comfortably into that peripheral state, needs to relax through the astral, might need to separate the mental layers, and it may need to use Akasha to access time and space according to what they wish to view at what point in time. And then they need to have developed the necessary visualization skills so that part of the consciousness can receive imagery. If a person can't visualize, they can't see, so you need to practice visualization. If a person can't be aware of energy, they can't get the energy to touch what they want to see. So you've got to vitally touch the vital field if you want to see it. You've got to astrally touch the astral plane if you want to see it. You've got to mentally touch the mental plane, spirit senses, to see with the mind. And you have to develop the mental senses, the visual capacity. And you have to touch with the Akasha what you wish to see in the Akasha. There has to be a contact between your mind and the object. So this perpetual struggle is a circle. You do an exercise as a circle, perpetual, it moves in a circle, and then there's stress adaptation in that circle. You take ownership of the results and you do it again and again and again, you elevate the results. And this is a frequency of persistence. You never give up, you just keep going. And you contemplate the results of every exercise after you've journaled, and then how do I improve what I just did to make it better? And as you improve and make what you're doing better, it becomes easier and you own the skills. So let's say you've defined 10 different layers of development for clairvoyance, and there can be less or more depending on the type of clairvoyance you're working with. 10 is just a nice round number of completion, and you persist to completion. So you frame things out in 10s for completion and 9s for continuity. Now, as you develop your perpetual struggle skill of looping, perpetual circle of practice, journal, contemplation, you review to make your skill better. You improve your skill in the next loop, then you make another circle of practicing and so forth, and you persist. This continuity of your effort to get better and the addiction to it, it's like a video game. You play the game, it's like, oh, wow, this is fun, I want to get better. You do it again, you get better, you do it again, you get better, and you keep improving what you're doing to continually develop that skill. So in this process of perpetual struggle, you apply the layers into your map of what your destination is. In this case, clairvoyance is a minor skill, where the major skill will be the center of the map of unity with universal consciousness, divinity, God, nibbana, whatever that process and development process leads to, and that's your center of the map. So you have minor skills and you have major skills. Your minor skills are things like clairvoyance, clairsentience, clairaudience, mental transference, mental wandering, and so forth. Psychometry. Now, breaking down this ability to define a structure and how to perpetually put it into a loop and develop your skill through that structure, that ability to do that is a key to success and failure. It's a planning out of how you're going to develop your skills. If you plan it out very, very well, then as you go through the process of practice, contemplation, improvement, repeated practice, and you're constantly leveling up what you're doing, that leveling up process, will give you a sense of fuel for your persistence. Every time you have an achievement and you acknowledge your achievement, you pat yourself on the back and go, well done, that achievement generates a free energy for that perpetual cycle of practice to speed up. Now, recognizing the law of rhythm, of how the energy moves in that circuit of practice, contemplation, improvement, and practice again, and the speed of the rhythm of that energy and how it circles and moves, you end up with a few major pointers in there. The first major pointer is that it is subject to rhythm of up and down. It is subject to speed. Now, when you recognize the rhythm, the resistance where you're growing and you slow down the growth, and then you recognize the speed of that rhythm and the momentum behind it, you can utilize that momentum to accelerate what you're doing and make it work faster. When you're utilizing laws of rhythm to accelerate speed and generate momentum, you can use that momentum to break through with difficult things. Now, difficult things, let's say a classical one is people have difficulty visualizing. Now they've got to get some momentum behind the visualization skills to take ownership of it. So you pick something that you're highly emotionally invested in. It might be someone you love, it might be your girlfriend, it might be your girlfriend naked. And you ask any guy, can you see your girlfriend naked in your mind's eye? Of course they can. It's instant. The energy rises, it's sudden and it's fast, and it has momentum. And that momentum comes into imagery, and then you see the image, and then you say to yourself, I'm a master of imagination skill. I can see that image clearly. So they can visualize it. Then they move from that, with that momentum, to less emotionally invested images, with that sense of I am master of visualization and imagination. And this ability to use that momentum and use things which are easy, you pick the low-hanging fruit and you attach it to more difficult things and make associations and cross-pollinate your skills, then all of a sudden you can visualize things that are distant from you, that you're not used to looking at. So let's say there's this pebble work on the wall in front of me and there's that shape. That's something that you don't see too often. Then you look at that, you close your eyes and then hold that image in your mind's eye and then relax into that image and then energize it with your mind substance. You might put some life force into it and amplify the imagery. By attaching that to the persona or personality of someone who can visualize something that you're highly emotionally invested in and then move to something you're not invested in, quickly uses that law of rhythm and that acceleration speed of energy to cross-pollinate skills. When you go through the book, The Kybalion, K-Y-B-A-L-I-O-N, you have these 7 Hermetic laws. And when you read through the 7 Hermetic laws and you list them out, you go, how does each of these laws apply to my skill development? So you look at the skill you want, you look at the law of mind, universe is mind, you look at resonance, you look at vibration, you look at rhythm and polarity and so forth. You go through these laws and you contemplate how to apply each law to the development of your skill. And then you put your perpetual struggle in, you put stress, you put effort, and you begin to loop that into practice, contemplate the result, make improvements, practice again. And you keep looping, using an aspect of these laws for each one of those skills and how you develop them. So we started with the word persistence. And we went to perpetual struggle and we broke down some examples. Now we look at, okay, this law of perpetual struggle, this law of persistence, Why is it so important in Buddhism? Why do they put such an emphasis on it? Because the word dukkha, stress and suffering, that life is stress and suffering, and nibbana is the release of stress, attachment, aversion, and delusion. Attachment, magnetic; aversion, electric; delusion is the cause of these, sticking to those two. The persistence to continually release those two is what generates nibbana. But the engaging of those two is what gives you mastery of them to release. So the struggle is the interaction by putting information into the electric and magnetic fluid and the attachment and aversion, guiding it through a skill, and then as you master the skill through concentration, through expanding the consciousness through the skill and making it natural, you are now released of the skill, of the electric and magnetic fluid underlying it. So you have equanimity as a byproduct of that skill development. So you engage attachment and aversion to develop the skill, and then you are released of that frequency of attachment and aversion as a byproduct of it. So here you'll find that as you develop your skills using these electric and magnetic fluids, these energies, you're generating an underlying equanimity to them, which gives you greater release and brings you closer to nibbana. So persistence is an engaging of your mind, your energy system, your energy, in aligning the three bodies to produce something, and that production of that thing gives you a release of it, which puts you into equanimity and brings you closer to nibbana and gives you a door through equanimity to develop your clairvoyance, your insight mind, or whatever you're working on. Okay, I'm back at my room. So thanks for your time, everyone. I hope this gives some insight into the persistence and this law of perpetual struggle and how it generates equanimity underneath a particular skill, and how that equanimity is a path for ascension. All right, be well, everyone. See you in the next video.